I'm Angela Kelly Robeck, host of the Empowered Principal Podcast, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to now. Shows on the network are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Hey, welcome back. Steve here, and today I'm talking with Manuj Aggarwal, who went from $2 a day to being in a Fortune 500 boardroom. He helps others be successful, and he has become a thought leader in artificial intelligence. Oh, so much to learn today as we take a look at AI and our world. Thanks for listening. And by the way, before you go, it'd be so cool if you went to my website, stephenmiletto.com/reviews, and left a review. Could you do that for me? It'd be nice. You could say some nice things about the podcast, as well as maybe even 5 stars. That'd be so cool. Thanks so much. Thanks for listening. Thanks for sharing, and enjoy the show.
It's the Education Podcast, your favorite show, with lots of groovy guests and they share what they know. So crank it up to 10 and let your neighbors know that here's another show with Dr. Steve Miletto. Teaching, learning, leading K12. Teaching, learning, leading K12. Teaching, learning, leading K12. With Dr. Steve Miletto.
Manuj Aggarwal went from a low-wage worker in India earning just $2 a day working for his father in warehouses to working with the top companies in the world. He shook off limiting beliefs and created his own path as a thought leader in artificial intelligence over the past 2 decades. Recently, he spoke alongside the Nobel Prize winner at the United Nations. Manuj is the author of 2 best-selling books and the host of the podcast Bootstrapping Your Dreams, where he helps entrepreneurs live their dreams. Right now, the podcast is listed in the top 0.1% worldwide, according to Listen to Notes, for podcasts related to entrepreneurship. He says, if you want to finally rise above your past limiting beliefs, family philosophies, and upbringing, I can help. Manuj knows what it takes to remove your poorly functioning operating system and replace it with a new mindset made to hold all your dreams and ambitions. He has been in AI for 15 years and has 4 patents in AI. Manuj has served clients like Microsoft, IBM, Pearson Education, and more, producing $500 million in value for them. His work has impacted over 10 million lives. Our focus today is how AI is going to change our world. Manuj, thanks for joining me today, and say hi to everyone.
Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. I couldn't have said it better, but thank you so much.
Well, you're very welcome, and it's great to have you here. And we're going to talk about a little bit of your background first, and then kind of move that forward. I mean, at age 15, you started working in a factory where you worked 12 hours a day with only $2 as a daily salary. I mean, could you tell us what you did? What was that world?
So, I grew up in a very small town, so there was not a lot of opportunity. India was a developing country back then, and still is. But back then it was like very limited scope for education, for opportunities. So I just basically needed to do something with my life. So I started working in this factory for as you mentioned, $2 a day. And the idea was to just get on with my life and try to do something. And during one of my lunch breaks in the factory, I was flipping through some business magazines, and I read the stories of these tycoons who had built their empires, millions and billions of dollars worth of empires. And I thought to myself, like, what is different about them, and what do I lack? Like, why are they so successful, and why am I not? And something triggered that day in my mind. I don't know what it was, but I, started seeking some avenue to raise my sort of standard. And then I found my love for computers and programming, and I just knew that is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And so, that is the first part of the story where I found technology as my vehicle for, making an impact and changing my life.
That is awesome. I love it. Is there something that some lesson that you always you kind of keep in your mind that you learn from working in that factory that will just be there always? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, it was hard work, but the lessons that I learned, there were many lessons. One is business is all about people. Business is all about relationships. So, we can say, it's about machines, it's about technology, it's about computer, whatever we think in our mind it's not. Business is about people and relationship, your employees, your partners, your clients. So you really need to learn how to communicate with them, how to empathize with them, how to understand where they're coming from. The second thing I learned was the everything that is worth building takes a team effort. It takes multiple people, multiple cogs in the system to work together. Because if you're just working by yourself, you can achieve success, but it will be limited to your ability. But if you want to do something bigger, you have to make sure you work well with others, and that is the lesson I learned in the factory. Because there's an assembly line of things that are being produced at a massively fast rate. If there is one break in one small machine in that assembly line, the whole thing stops, right? So it could be that there are 10 machines working in sync, but if one small thing breaks down, the other 9 they are not at fault, but they have to stop as well. So these are the lessons I learned, where you have to bring everybody together in order to achieve big things, and then make sure that you maintain these relationships.
Awesome. And and when you read about your story, you can't. I tried to figure out if I could just keep moving on. I went, no, I'm going to have to get you to talk about the impact that app tech had on your life and the focus for your future, because that played a big role there. So can you talk about that?
Yeah. So AppTech was the computer institute which opened up in my small town, and I got my computer education there. And the first year I tried to enroll, the salary was more than the fees was more than my salary, so I couldn't do that. So next year I sort of saved up a little bit, and then I enrolled in the course, and then I made the best out of it, because first of all, there was like limited computer time we used to get. So I used to book as much computer time as possible, and then bribe others to give me their time so I can spend more time programming and practicing. And then the other thing that happened was I also found my future wife, my girlfriend, in the same course. And those were the two impactful things that happened, like just learning more about the computers, building systems that could help other people. And that was the sort of the drive that kicked in, where I said I can just write some code and just drop it into the computer, share it with other people, and it'll help them without me doing anything. Like so it became a hobby, it became like a game for me. So that was an impactful period for sure.
Yeah, it's awesome, because that's going to, it's all these steps that are leading you to the success you've had today. And it's so cool. And especially to see the role that learning this new skill, a series of skills or way of thinking and so forth, I can't say enough about not giving up or giving in, or however you would think about it in those terms. Because yet another wall happens to you, which is the situation where, like you referenced your girlfriend that you fall in love with, and you write that your family didn't approve of her, and could you talk about what happened and the impact that event had on your life, because that changes you drastically.
Yeah. So we were from different religions, and in India back then, still is like it's taboo to marry outside of your religion, let alone like pick your own spouse. Your parents are supposed to do that in India. So that was a big problem. But I've always learned, the best life to live, the way to live is follow your heart. Follow passion, follow your heart, and my heart said, okay, I need to follow this path. And we got married irrespective of what the family said. And, it was tough to go against the grain. And we faced a lot of backlash from family, from society in general. So we lived in India for about a year after we got married. But then it got to a point where we said, okay, we shouldn't, we cannot live here anymore. So we decided to move to North America.
I appreciate you sharing that, because so then it's coming to North America, where you're going to end up, you're literally going to end up in that boardroom, and your world is just really taken off. And one of the things that I want to go to is that you say this in everything anything about your background and such. You go from a $2 a day to the boardroom of a Fortune 500. So you got to talk about How'd that happen? I mean, what happened there?
See, there were many steps in that journey as well. So when I came to North America, it was the dot-com boom time, and I got a job very quickly. But then I lost my job quickly as well because dot-com bust happened. And then I lost another job because of September 11th, and then lost another job because of Gulf War. So after doing all that for first few years, I thought, job security is not a real thing even in North America. So I just started my own consulting company and started consulting with multiple startups, helping them build their technology, their products. And then I also got a chance to work with Microsoft. So in Microsoft, I was asked to help them build a system for their enterprise clients worldwide, which that system was processing about $30 billion worth of transactions every year. And so that was one of the biggest projects of my life at that time. And I got to interact with, like very senior executives in Microsoft. And I got to learn how they see the world. Because working with startups, it's like you're steering a motorboat, and you can like go anywhere very fast and take a turn. Working with Microsoft, it's like a oil tanker. Like if you need to take a turn, you got a plan for like a month. We'll take this. Make this little tweak here, and so these experiences taught me like how small companies become large companies sort of start to dominate the world, and how they serve their clients and all that. So being in those boardrooms was surreal at first, but then as I interacted more and more with the executives, I realized like they are just human beings like us, and they have their worries, they have their ways of thinking. But the thing is, if we start to learn from what they are doing, their mistakes, their accomplishments, and then also bring the other experience from our past life, mix it all together, it's even more effective in that sense, because now I have many more tools in my tool chest, and I can apply the right tool in the right situation.
It's awesome. Going back to something you said before about learning from the factory, about how things are about relationships and about how they work together. And I can see how that would really pay off as you're getting to know and work with and talk with the people that are surrounding you, especially having the experience of losing this job or losing that job. And then, saying, okay, I'm done with that. Let me start my own job. I'm going to create my own business. And so I have to go back to what you said before, which is the power of those relationships. Because I can only imagine as you start trying to, you're reaching out and you're contacting others and so forth like that. You have to be, you have to have that confidence that you can, connect with others and so forth. Can you just kind of talk to that just a little bit?
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. The thing is that I have been quite. How can I say it? Like, for a lack of a better word, stupid. Like I'm just stupid. Like I'll just go and talk to anybody about, hey, how's your day going? And then I start to joke with them. And I find that many people hesitate. Like, if you see a person, you can be friendly with them. But as soon as you know their title or senior vice president at Microsoft, something happens in you and it's like, oh my God, I shouldn't talk to that person. But it's the same person. And so if you just remove that title and then just say, hey, you are Steve and I'm Manuj, like, how's your day going? Tell me about your family. Did you go on do something good over the weekend? I find that if you come across as friendly, then even people who we consider as, as they are on a pedestal, they are actually, eager to talk to you, because most people are putting them on the pedestal and they don't know how authentic they are. But if you come across as authentic and you have no agenda, you have nothing to gain, they are quite welcoming in most cases. That's what I found. And then building those relationships was also like just like giving what you can. I mean, one thing is like a lot of people say I'm talking to this senior vice president because I want to be seen, I want to be, noticed, and that will lead to promotions or whatever. But for me, it was never about that, because Microsoft was a client, so I didn't expect any promotion or anything. It was just like chatting up with the people who were working on the project. What I found was that whenever somebody brought up something that oh, I have backache, I had something to offer. I said, hey, have you tried this ointment? Have you tried this yoga exercise or something along those lines? It may help you. And so even if they didn't try it, you come across as, hey, I'm giving you something. Like I have nothing to take from you, but I'm giving you. And I find that people who give, it comes back in many ways, like strange ways, from multiple different directions. It may not be from the person that you are giving to, but it may come from some other sources. So I learned earlier on, like, even if you don't have anything to give, just give a smile, give a little bit of your time, and listen to some people. And that comes back in a big, big way.
That is so powerful. That's awesome. And just as a note, I mean, you've been recognized or brought up in talks by President Obama and Bill Gates. So, I mean, my goodness, that's those connections and the talking and so forth, and just like you said, have really gotten others, their attention, I guess, is where I'm going with that.
Yeah. Attention. I mean, the thing is that we live in an attention economy. Everything is attention. People pay millions of dollars for 30 seconds of commercial in Super Bowl. Basically, they are just looking to get attention. But the key thing about attention is, once again, you have to realize, if you start to tap into what other people want and then you give it to them, that's when you get the most attention. Most people, they just focus on themselves. They say, look at me, I am so great. But if you say, forget about me, tell me, what is it that you want? What is it that you're trying to accomplish? How can I help you? That's when people pay more attention. Not only they pay attention, but then they tell other friends. They say, hey, if you have any problem, go talk to this person. They will be able to help you out.
That is so awesome. Great advice and powerful advice. I mean, to make you understand that it's just, figuring out how to help the other, whoever it is that you're working with. I like that. And I got to mention something that I've heard you talk about that I was not going to talk about, but I'm like, I got to talk about it. So can you talk a little bit about what travel, how being traveled or having been, because you've been a lot of different places. So what role that might help others as well as it's been for you?
Yeah, another great question. The thing is that this is all sort of related, building relationships, helping other people. And the thing is that what I realize is I had an advantage living in India and coming over to North America. So I already sort of experienced two different cultures. And when I came to North America, obviously, there are people from various parts of the world. So when I interacted with them, I learned about their culture. The idea is that when we understand multiple cultures, we start to see the shades of gray in humanity. Like, humanity is so diverse, so so many different preferences, so many different passions people have. So when you start to absorb that, then you start to relate better to people and understand what they are looking for. So an example is, like, let's say, I'm really passionate about food, let's say, and that's the only thing I think about. But then I don't go out there and venture and look at other cuisines, look at what other countries have to offer. Then I will be very limited in my choice of relating to other people. If I go meet a friend and they are eating food that I don't understand, I won't have much to say, But if you travel, you absorb so much. Your mind expands in so many ways that you have so many stories to tell. You become much more relatable, and you can talk to anybody from any background, any industry, any nationality. And that's one thing I found, very, very impactful. And anyway, I mean, travel is fun as well. But I think we forget, this is one thing that I want to mention here. Like, I watched the movie Avatar. If people haven't watched it, I highly recommend it. In the end of the movie, they discover that the trees on this planet, they have a network, a global network, and they are joined together with their through their roots, and then they communicate with each other through their roots, and that's true even on Earth. So what we need to realize is the human species is also a network, and the bigger roots you can spread of yourself, like you can connect with more people, the more you flourish, the stronger you become, no matter what storm comes your way, like the recession comes or whatever. If you have a big network and you have deep roots, that is what makes you a strong person and an impactful person. So that's related to travel, that's related to relationships, and that's related to how we can talk to each other and build those relationships.
Oh, I love that. That is so awesome. And just when you think about talking with people and saying, I mean, because if nothing else, you also, as you're exposed to other aspects, from food to how people think to what they do and how they live, or it also then brings something else into your talk and your discussions that you can have when you're trying to connect with others. So I love that. Good stuff. All right. So now I'm going to kind of shift you here, because part of your world is AI, and in my world, which is all around education, we're really focused on AI right now, and some not so good. Some are thinking, the world might be coming to an end, and some are thinking, this might just be the new door opening. And so, one of the things I want to do is, before we go any further, when you use the term AI, how do you think about AI? What is it that it means to you?
See, AI is basically an extension of our own mind. Our mind is a pattern recognition machine. So we recognize patterns everywhere, starting from our childhood. So I'll give you a quick example. If a child touches a hot stove, he or she knows not to touch it again. And that is a pattern that the mind learns even at a young age. And there's only one data point: touching the stove. That's it. Now, if we put that child in Antarctica with heat-resistant gloves, and there's like wind chill flowing, and it's very, very cold, and now the child touches the stove, it will actually feel pleasant, not hot. So the child will learn, there are multiple variables in this situation. And based on the variables, I need to make a decision whether it's safe to touch the stove or not. So now that mind records 4 or 5 more variables. But if we extrapolate that into more complex situations where, I want to predict the weather, I want to predict the stock market, I want to, do these, make these major decisions, there are hundreds of thousands of parameters involved in that, right? So our mind is only capable of maybe handling 10 to 15 parameters at a time. And when we look at these large data sets, the machines are capable of ingesting millions and millions of data points and finding these minute patterns and telling us that, okay, according to this data, it's going to rain in 14 days. According to this data, this stock should be at this point. So that's what AI is. It's a very, very powerful way to recognize the patterns that happen in our world.
Awesome. And, I'm 59. And before I was even born, there was a huge focus on computers and the sci-fi of the time, and I love going back to those movies. I watch a lot of those movies from those time frames, and you see a lot of them where you have Colossal or Colossus, the big computer that's going to take over the world and it's going to end everybody. And then you move up into the 60s and you have that continue. It's so much so that there's a lot of research during those times, books that were written during those days about the role that computers will take in our lives one day. And then in the late 60s you have Stanley Kubrick and 2001, and if you've ever seen the movie, I mean, you won't forget when Hal decides that Dave doesn't really need to exist any longer. And if you haven't seen it, you got to go look for that. And that's all I'm going to tell you about it. But, so what do you think now? Because there's a lot, is AI going to take over our world? I mean, are we going to have jobs eliminated and be looking to, I don't know, a more modern movie would be one, called Terminator, where there's something called Skynet.
Yeah.
So what do you think about all that?
See, I'll answer it in a few parts. One is when humans think that we put some thinking ability in some other species, other computers, it will be exactly like us, meaning it will be jealous, it will be ambitious, it will be, thinking, how can I take over the world? But if we look at all the species on this planet, millions of species, there's only one species that wages organized war against their own. That's it. Human beings, right? And that war comes from our childhood traumas, our own, our own inability to face our fears, and then we project our fears on others and say, okay, I'm going to take over the world, I'm going to kill you guys, and I'm the only one who rules. That's how sort of the basic structure of war is. Now, if I look at a machine, even if I say, okay, somebody will need to write an algorithm to make the machine jealous and ambitious enough to figure out, I could do without that. It's just absurd to me, knowing human beings well and knowing computers well. That's not going to happen, in my opinion. So I will put those fears to rest, that machines are not ambitious, they have no interest in taking over humanity. What are they going to do? They don't need money, they don't need prestige or anything like that. None of that, right? They're just here to serve us. And you can look at all the technologies that have been built so far. None of the technologies, including the nuclear atomic bomb, was meant to be like a weapon. Humans used it as a weapon. So yes, AI can be used by a bad person, but AI itself is not going to, think about taking over humanity. So that's one. Secondly, there's going to be job replacement. Yes. As it has happened multiple times in our evolution. When the car was invented, people were afraid what's going to happen to the horse cart industry. When radio came along, people were worried what's going to happen to newspaper industry. When steam engine was invented, they were worried what's going to happen to the people working in the field. So the idea is that when technological revolutions happen, people have to upskill themselves, and then they find better jobs. But the problem is that, first of all, this is a big shift. AI is the biggest, in my opinion, biggest technological revolution that humanity will ever see, because it has now enhanced our ability to think, our mind, our cognitive ability. Before this, every other invention was to enhance our physical abilities. The car helps us move faster, the crane helps us lift heavier weights, but AI will help us think faster, better. So if we can upskill ourselves, then we will be in a tremendously advantageous position, because now we can do much more. We can accomplish much more. And especially right now, as AI is just getting started. So a good example is in the 1990s, if you went and talked to somebody and said, hey, do you need an email address or do you need a website? And they'll be like, what? I don't need an email address. I've got my phone. I don't need a website. And then one day in 1997, Jeff Bezos started a website and he became the richest person on the planet. In 20 years, he took over Walmart, which has been around for 100 years. Right? So imagine now AI is 100 times more powerful. If somebody said to themselves, oh, I'm going to embrace this, I'm going to improve my business, I'm going to improve the job I do, I'm going to improve the way I teach kids, where will they be in 5 years? And if they don't use it, and their competitor is using it, where will they be in 5 years? They will be playing catch up. So yes, there's going to be job displacement, but it is going to be for the better, because the stress, the anxiety that we experience is because of what happens in our mind. We project the future. But if that stress can be relieved by talking, letting the machine do the thinking, then we can focus on the more creative aspects, more enjoyable aspects of our work.
That is awesome. I love what you're talking about there, and I've especially got to tie it into the classroom, because right now, there's pretty much like two sides. One side is panicking because ChatGPT might be able to be writing everybody's essays, and so they don't know if it's real or is it not real, or to quote an old commercial, is it Memorex or is it not? But it's something that really has some afraid of that, and then there's others saying, "But wait, it has its limitations, and could we figure out how to incorporate it?" I mean, what would be your message to them, to that type of audience?
See, education has always transitioned. It has always been in flow as humans evolve. So when writing was invented, we like, okay, let's even go back. When writing was invented, maybe 7,000 years ago. That's it. Humans have been on this planet for 200,000 years, right? So for 195,000 years, information used to be passed on to next generation by telling stories. Even if we read our religious books or scripture, they tell stories to make you understand a complex concept, right? If we go, during the Renaissance period, like there was a lot of progress in science and technology and culture and art, but there were no exams. There were no have you studied this? Like how it was learning by doing. If you do well, then you get the praise of the people, and then you progress in your career. Now with the Industrial Revolution, we had to make sure that people have passed a certain standard, and they recall things from their mind, right? In their mind. So we came up with these concepts of, okay, you need to write a test. You need to prove that you know this subject. You need to write an essay so that I can see, you can think. Right now, that thinking ability has been commoditized. It's not going to be valued anymore. So the ability to look up a subject with ChatGPT or AI, and then marry it with some new concept that you're working on, that will be valued. So in my opinion, we should encourage people to use AI and ChatGPT and say, okay, this is a super intelligent machine. Show me how you can extract something meaningful out of it. Because here is the thing. Even if I give ChatGPT to 100 people, 90% of the people will not be able to ask the right question to this super intelligent being. You see? So if we are able to teach them how to ask the right question, it goes back to relationships, empathy, all that stuff. That's more valuable than ability to write an essay.
That's so awesome, because you're so right. And I love that, how you went back in time to talk about those changes like that, because, it is fascinating how we are so reliant now on something that in the past, the passing down of information and so forth. And now we almost miss the chance to get that information because people are too distracted by other things. But it's like, a big part of our world is right here with how you might be able to use this. And like you said, I love what you said, ask the right questions, because it is funny how, you could have, we've got more power in our smartphones. I've heard it described than what was, actually put an astronaut on the moon.
Yeah, exactly.
Although we're getting ready to do it again. But in that phone is more computing power, yet sometimes the only time that phone is accessed is to, show a picture of what you ate that night. And exactly. But now if you train our kids to ask the right question, they'll use the phone for much more productive uses, right? I love it. Yes, I love that, because that's so much a big part of it is learning what those questions are and what you want to know and how you want to get there. It's funny, because one of the crazy things about some of the AI now is, like, if you use a phone, an Android or a smartphone, and you have one of those map apps on there, and it gets used to you driving certain ways, so it starts predicting and telling you, if you left now, it would take you this long to get home. And it's like, whoa, okay, you're freaking me out here now, man. So in the AI that you work with, because you have 4 patents, tell us what you focus on. What's your world of AI that you focus on?
For me, again, it starts with humans. How can we improve human life? How can we improve human experience? So my work has been in healthcare, in education. One of the projects that we did, it actually, and you will relate to that, 30% of the students drop out of their degree programs in the first 2 years. And the reason is because when they enroll, they find out this program is too difficult for them or is no interest to them. So we created some AI algorithms to recommend the right courses to the students based on their history, based on their interest. And this is similar to how Netflix recommends shows to us. So this program was successful enough that a lot of students, they completed their degree program without dropping out. And then this is the program that got mentions from Obama and Bill Gates. So healthcare, same thing, like, detecting illnesses, helping figure out, helping the doctors make better diagnoses. So there's so many applications of AI where the thing is, as humans, we have a limited ability to think. On top of that, we all carry emotional baggage. So if I have some problem in my leg, I go visit a doctor, a surgeon, and he says, "Oh, I'm gonna have to cut off your leg." And that day, he may be the best surgeon on the planet, but that day he had a fight with his wife. That is going to affect his ability to make decisions, right? So we have to recognize that we are just humans, just emotional bundles of flesh. And so if we can supplement our cognitive ability with AI, that's a good scenario.
Yeah, I like that, because that's, I had a major surgery happen this last year, and it's one of those things where, I don't need the surgeon to have had an argument with somebody or be drinking. I actually asked him before they put me under. I said, "Now you don't drink too much coffee, do you? Or don't feel like sneezing or anything like that?" He said he laughed and he said no, and he goes, "Now go to sleep." So but I mean, there's so many things that can cause humans to be sidetracked that it's nice if it helps play that role to keep you from doing that. So in this one of the things that I've read that you've talked about before, so I was curious, is what role does meditation play with AI? What do you?
Oh, huge. In fact, here is my thesis. The AI is a technology that will only be harnessed to its fullest potential by people who have higher level of consciousness, people who meditate, because meditation helps you see the world in a very different way. It helps you absorb so much more than you miss out. It's like people who don't meditate, they're walking around, again, no offense to people who don't meditate, I'm just describing the experience. So as you start to meditate, it feels like you had a dirty window through which you were looking at, and now with meditation you sort of cleaned off the dust, and now you can look clearly. Not only you can observe the world more clearly, but you can observe your own thoughts and mind more clearly. You can see where, let's say if you're feeling anxious, you can see where that anxiety is coming from. If you're feeling excited, you can see where that excitement is coming from. So meditation sort of helps you unlock that 90% of your subconscious mind and work with the full mind. Not only that, but really you start to feel one with the universe. You start to feel one with other humans, other species, which is the fact. Like, we are all made of stardust, and we are part of this universe. But it's so difficult to grasp that concept until you experience it. And meditation is one way to get to that.
That's awesome. Yeah, because this is going to flow right into what I wanted to get you to, which is, so AI, meditation, the way we think, kind of improving the way we think, like you talked about earlier, the idea that we can change, our focus to be able to achieve whatever it is. So how can AI help us achieve our dreams? What do you think?
Sure. Okay. I'll give you a trick. Okay. I think if people try this, they ask them to try it and then report back to me in 7 days. I hope people try it. Okay. So let's say you want something to happen in your life, something good. Don't think of something big. Like, I want to earn $1 million. No, like think of, I want to I want to go on a little trip with my kid, or, I want to celebrate dinner with my kid or something along those lines, right? So what happens in our mind is we think about a thought and that's where it stops. Nothing happens after that, right? So go to ChatGPT, sign up for a free account, and ask it to write a very elaborate story of you going to dinner with your kid. Describe because our mind is not able to imagine a lot of these details. That's where our minds are getting stuck in this world. But if you ask ChatGPT, describe in detail, what did we eat, describe the restaurant scene, all of that, or let's say you want to go on a long drive, you want to find a date, whatever that is, right? You ask ChatGPT to write a detailed story, read it to yourself every day for 5 days, 7 days, and then let me know what happens in your life. You will feel the same meditative effects, and many of you will actually see those things coming together in your life.
That is awesome. I love that. That is so cool. So have you had anybody do that for you?
I do it, and I do it all the time. But
nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, so listeners, you got a challenge here. You got to take that shot at it and see what difference it makes for you. So good stuff. I love it. One of the things I got to say before we finish up, because we're getting close now, Manuj, and one of them is, where do you think AI is going? I mean, where obviously we're kind of in a beginning stages here where it's starting to freak us out, but it's got to be on its path somewhere. What do you think?
Well, in my opinion, AI is going to fuse with the human mind. There's going to be a place where, again, coming from an engineer, technology expert, it sounds weird, but I think the heart is, our heart is 100,000 times more powerful than our mind. And we let our mind come in the way of feeling that. And so once the AI sort of fuses with our mind, we won't have to worry so much about the daily sort of routine or what will happen in the future. We'll be able to actually experience the utopian sort of existence that we are meant to have, which is to just connect with others, enjoy this life on planet Earth, be abundant. I think that's the future, abundance for everyone. Because if you see, the world GDP is about $80 trillion. My estimate is $50 trillion of that is just service industry trying to hold together the rest of 30 trillion, which is actual consumption, manufacturing, which is what we need to survive. The rest is just, insurance, banking, things which we just need to carry on with life. But the rest is, the real economy is like very minuscule. So if when we reach a stage where human mind and AI sort of starts to fuse, we can see all those resources going into helping humanity, eliminating food, hunger, addressing climate change, these type of things. So that's where I see the eventuality of this technology.
That's so awesome. I love it. It's wide open for us, isn't it? Here we go. So absolutely. Good stuff. Before I forget, I want to make sure that you get a chance to tell everybody about your podcast, Bootstrapping Your Dreams. You got your
bootstrap. Yeah. So, my, I've spent so much time in helping startups build technology, and most startups these days, their first step is to raise money. But I have helped many people raise tens of millions of dollars, and I've seen what happens when they raise money. In most cases, they go south immediately after they raise money. And I can go into that in a different discussion. So I've always believed that true businesses are built by bootstrapping, by just figuring things out. So I started this podcast called Bootstrapping Your Dreams, and I bring on guests who have done amazing things in life by just figuring things out, struggling and finding solutions, building those relationships. And so all these stories are it also informs me about how I can react to situations when I go through tough times. So that's the idea, telling people that anything is possible in this world as long as you follow some simple principles.
Awesome. And I'm a subscriber and enjoying it. And I got to tell everyone, you got to check it out. So Bootstrapping Your Dreams. Good stuff. Manuj, where would someone go if they wanted to reach out to you and learn more?
Yeah. So if you want to connect with me, go to my connection website. It's manuj.ca, my first name, manuj.ca. Or you can go to my website, Manuj Aggarwal. It's my full name, manujaggarwal.com. Or just find me on LinkedIn with my name. And I'll be happy to connect and let me know how I can help.
Awesome. And I'll have that information in the show notes, so it's easy for people just go in there and click and go to you. So good stuff. So I got two last questions I want to ask you, and they're questions I like to ask my guests, Manuj. And the first one goes, how do you keep going when so much is going on that you may want to quit?
Well, what you have to do is you have to find your why. You have to find your mission. Because if that mission is bigger than you and your pain, then you keep going. So my why is my family, my kids. I want to show them what is possible in a human lifetime. Because if I can achieve big things, then I can show them they can achieve big things. Secondly, I feel like, I'm in a position to really make a huge impact, especially with AI, a lot of misinformation, a lot of fear around that. So if I can make a difference in people's lives and help them understand this technology, that's a bigger mission than me or my difficulties in a particular day. So that's what keeps me going.
Love it. Awesome. Last question. Do you have a teacher in your past who made a difference in your life? If so, who was it? And what would you say if given the chance to say thank you?
Oh, absolutely. So my 7th grade teacher, I can't remember her name, but, she saw something in me, which I didn't see myself. The story is that, before my final exams, I went to hospital for a month and I could not study. But she said, just take a chance. You still have 2 weeks. Just take a chance and see how you'll do. And I said, I'll embarrass myself. She said, it's okay. Everybody knows you're sick, so no embarrassment. And I took those exams and then I was ranked first in the class. So she really encouraged me to, see something in me, and I can't forget that. So that's where I think a lot of my self-confidence started to build up from there.
That is so cool. Thanks for sharing. And Manuj, thanks so much for talking with me. It was awesome talking with you about going from $2 a day to a Fortune 500 boardroom to all this cool stuff that's going on with AI, and help me think about this future that we got coming up with it. I love it. Thank you so much. Wishing you the best in all you do.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Hey, you have been listening to Teaching, Learning, Leading K12, a podcast to help you help kids achieve their dreams. Teaching, Learning, Leading K12 is a member of the Education Podcast Network. Podcasts for educators, podcasts by educators. Teaching, Learning, Leading K12 is a member of the podcast network based in Canada called Voice Ed Radio. Voice Ed Radio, your voice is right here. The opinions expressed on Teaching, Learning, Leading K12 are those of the guests and host. Teaching, Learning, Leading K12 is intended to share ideas, advice, and suggestions. Teaching, Learning, Leading K12 is produced for educational purposes. Hey, thanks for listening. It would be awesome if you visited my website at stephenmiletto.com and connected with me, left a review, and listened to more episodes. And by the way, you could also share it with your friends, with your family, and your colleagues. Thanks so much. You're awesome.